Divisional matchup here at 1 p.m. This one is in Cincinnati. Basically every game from this point on is must win for Cincinnati. I think that they could still lose like one game down the stretch and make the playoffs, but basically anything outside of one game, and I think it's going to be over for them when it comes to a potential playoff run. They're just too far behind the 8 ball. What's your matchup that matters here, and what it feels like almost a do or die game for the Bengals?
Yeah, I keep joking that the Bengals are like the mafia from The Godfather or Goodfellas, where like just when I thought I was out, they pull me back in. Like I just like they keep doing this to me where I'm like, oh my God. Like I don't want to give up on the Bengals because Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, they're just so much fun to watch and they're on a tear. And Joe Burrow is playing some of the best ball of his career, and you don't want to waste that. But I have to kind of think about the fact too of like, even if they do make the playoffs, what is their viability? Because I keep thinking this isn't who the Bengals are, but they keep showing us week in and week out that this is kind of who they are. And it is a do or die game because it is a division game. You have the opportunity to make up some ground here, but it's not going to be easy. And especially when I think this Bengals offensive line in particular, you look at it, and earlier in the season, they were kind of maybe top, like bottom of the top third slash like kind of right at the average mark. That's no longer the case, at least grades wise. When you look at pass blocking, run blocking grade, 59.4 PFF grade overall, that ranks 29th, 63.3 pass blocking grade, slightly better, but that's still 23rd. 52.6 run block grade, which is 31st. And like, this is not a team that's been able to run the football. And I think the offensive line has a lot of the reason why.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really not helping out Joe Burrow. Their offense is one dimensional. He is having to be Superman, him and Jamar Chase. And that needs to stop. You need to do something, and you need to do it quickly, because the Steelers defensive line, we know how good it is between Cam Hayward, who leads the Steelers in pressures. I'm going to keep shouting that out because the man is 35 years old and he has 38 pressures this season. And then TJ Watt at 29. I mean, this is a tough unit to go against, but you're going to have to kind of show up against them and help this Bengals offense be as multiple as possible to, again, dress the Steelers defense in as many ways as you can. And we just haven't seen that out of the Bengals offensive line. It's just kind of deteriorated as the season's gone on. And it's kind of like the same old story. So I'm trying to find any way to still believe in the Bengals because I want to. But I think that's just my bias because it's getting increasingly harder.
Well, the team is very fun to watch, and I think that's why they're really tough to give up on, because you've got overtime games, you got close losses, and you go like, wow, I can't wait to, continue to watch this Bengals team. And, we might get to the end of the year and the playoffs roll around and you go, wait a second. Okay. What are we not watching the Bengals anymore? And so that is the matchup that matters 100%. I think that the Steelers defensive line versus the Bengals offensive line is absolutely the matchup that matters, because they have a defensive line full of guys in Pittsburgh that could absolutely take over games, whether Turberg or Cam Hayward or Keanu Benton or obviously TJ Watt as well. Like, they've just got so many fantastic players along that defensive line that can be all sorts of fits. And I'm especially worried about Keanu Benton and Cam Hayward if I'm the Cincinnati Bengals, because the Bengals interior offensive line has been bad. I mean, that has been an area where we talk about the Houston Texans interior offensive line being something that's holding them back. It feels like the interior offensive line right now is really holding the Bengals offense back, because they're giving up so much interior pressure. And whether it's Cordell Volson or Ted Karras or Alex Kappa or just honestly like a combination of the three, teams are just attacking them in ways that they're not ready for, and they're not ready to pick each other up, and they just don't have that chemistry right now. I don't think they're all terrible offensive linemen. I really don't, but they're just not playing as well as a group as they could. And it's a really bad week to go up against a defensive line and the one like the Steelers. On the plus factor side of things, I'm going to stick on the Steelers defense, and I'm going to talk about Joey Porter Jr., who had a 39.6 coverage grade last week against the Cleveland Browns in that snow game. Had 5 targets, gave up 5 catches, over 50 yards, and if he's not playing better, holy cow, that Jamar Chase and T. Higgins are going to be able to take advantage of that. And so, to me, the poor performance from Joey Porter Jr. last week cannot carry over into this week, because if that same performance is what we get out of JPJ, it might be a 200-yard game for Jamar Chase, like we have already seen once this season. So to me, Joey Porter Jr. is either the plus factor or the minus factor, however you want to say. Like, he's either going to be able to hold up against these two really good wide receivers, or he's going to be a reason that keeps the Bengals into this game and might get them into the 30-plus point range and potentially be victors here in this one. So that's my big-time plus factor there with Joey Porter Jr. What about you?
Yeah, you hope that had more to do with the fact he couldn't see the ball in the snow and the fact that Jameis Winston really didn't get the memo that you're supposed to act or play differently in this.
He did play differently. He played better.
He just kept playing it. I know, and it kept working out. I was like, usually if your receivers can't even see the ball because clearly the corners can't see the ball, I don't know. But it worked out. It worked out, and it was fun. But I'm going to the other side of things. I want to focus a little bit on the Steelers' offense and Russell Wilson's deep ball in particular, because that is the biggest differentiator between what Justin Fields brought to this offense early in the season and what Russell Wilson has now been able to do. And the fact that he's made this offense multiple vertical 95.8 PFF grade on throws of 20 yards or more. That's ranked second in the league. 9 big-time throws with 0 turnover-worthy plays. So Russell Wilson is slinging it, and he's making the veteran decisions that you expect out of somebody like that. I think there was so much made about, all right, is Russell Wilson going to be the answer? Are you better off starting Justin Fields anyway in the beginning of this season because of what we saw from Russ in Denver? I said it multiple times where I was like, we're going to need to see the rest of 3 years ago or 4 years ago if this is really going to be a difference maker for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And lo and behold, we're seeing a lot more, not quite, but we're seeing a lot more of that guy from 4 years ago than we are of what we saw in Denver. And I can't say enough about how effective that's been. And now we're seeing so much offensive production out of a team that was run the ball first, play very conservatively offensively, and let the defense take over literally ever since Ben Roethlisberger. I think that's the last time we really saw really fun offense in Pittsburgh. And now we're seeing it again. So Russell Wilson, deep ball prowess, how that happened, you know, how the Bengals corners and secondary kind of contend with that can be a huge difference maker.
Thanks for watching, everybody. Make sure you like and subscribe the video. And if you don't have a PFF Plus subscription, you can get one to see all the premium stats that we talked about here on the show, plus the expert betting and fantasy advice over at subscribe.pff.com. The description is also right below. So if you are not a PFF Plus subscriber, you become one today.